Welcome back to the deep dive. We're back at it today, and we're doing something a little special today.
Very special.
Yeah, we aren't just looking at a broad topic. We are cracking open a file on a really specific moment in television history that I think it really defines the modern era of storytelling.
Right.
We are looking at the season 2 premiere of Breaking Bad.
The episode titled 737.
737. Which is
It's such a deceptive title, honestly.
it really is it sounds like a time of day, right? Or an airplane model.
Which, spoiler alert, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
But it's also a number that kind of haunts the entire series from this point forward.
Exactly. And look, if you're listening to this, we are assuming you know the broad strokes. You know Walter White, the chemistry teacher turned meth cook. You know Jesse Pinkman.
Right. The basics.
You know the premise. But our mission today is different. We aren't here to just recap the plot and say, and then this happened and then that happened.
You can get that on Wikipedia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't need us for a plot summary. We are here to look at the mechanics. We want to really pull this thing apart.
We want to look under the hood. Because this specific episode, it's where the show stops being this dark comedy about amateur criminals, and it shifts gears.
Hard shift.
A really hard shift into a full-blown life or death psychological thriller. It is the pivot point for the whole show.
It really is. Because you go from the explosive finale of season 1, which had this almost triumphant feel to it, like a high adrenaline.
Yeah, they made the deal. They got the bag of money.
Right. They blow up Tuco's office. They walk away looking like badasses. But then this episode brings the cold, hard reality of the aftermath.
It's the hangover.
That is exactly it. It's the hangover episode.
It explores the psychological toll of that adrenaline rush. And we have a really great stack of sources to help us unpack this today. We are pulling from the original production notes, detailed plot summaries, critical reception analysis from back when it first aired.
Some really good contemporary reviews in there.
Oh, yeah. And some really fascinating details about the hidden codes baked into this season's structure by the writers.
The 737 mystery is, it's one of my absolute favorite pieces of television trivia.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to get into the weeds on that. It's mind-blowing when you realize just how much planning went into it.
It speaks to the confidence of the writers, you know? They were planting seeds in episode 1 that wouldn't bloom until the season finale.
So here is the roadmap for today. We're going to start in the junkyard, right where season 1 left off. We're going to talk about the sudden escalation of violence and how it completely changes the genre of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to pull apart the title, both the literal meaning involving Walt's bank account and the hidden warning that it contains.
And we also need to spend some serious time on the domestic front, because the rot isn't just in the drug trade anymore.
No, it's spreading.
It's seeping right into the White household and the Schrader household, too.
The blast radius is expanding. And then we'll look at the investigation, how close yet how far the DEA really is. We'll cover the paranoia, the whole debate between using guns versus using science.
Right.
And finally, that massive twist ending that changes everything.
It is a dense episode. We have a lot of ground to cover.
We really do. So let's just jump right in. Segment 1, the junkyard. The catalyst.
We open the season, and we are immediately thrown into the deep end with Tuco Salamanca.
Right. And visually, it's just so striking. We're in the scrapyard. It looks incredibly hot.
Dusty.
Dusty, yeah. There is twisted metal everywhere. It's like a graveyard for cars. And this picks up directly after the drug deal.
Literally seconds later.
Walt and Jesse have just sold the meth to Tuco.
And the vibe is not a celebration at all. You would think, hey, we just made a massive amount of money. This is a huge win.
Right. Time to pop the champagne.
But it turns into an absolute nightmare in about 5 seconds flat.
It really does. And it all centers on Tuco, played by Raymond Cruz, who is just, the energy he brings to the scene is terrifying.
It's electric.
He's laughing, he's screaming, he's violently sniffing the meth off his Bowie knife.
He is a literal force of chaos. And this is the inciting incident for the entire season's chaos. It's not the drug deal itself that causes the problem for Walt and Jesse.
No.
It's what happens immediately after the deal is done.
Because of no dose.
No dose. Tuco's lieutenant is one of his main henchmen.
Walk us through exactly what happens here. Because it's such a tiny, almost imperceptible moment that leads to this massive cascading consequence.
Well, it's a study in unhinged leadership, if you want to call it that. Tuco is extremely high. He just snorted a massive pure hit of the blue meth, and he's already an aggressive guy.
Right.
And no dose makes a very small It's a very human mistake. He speaks up.
He speaks to Walt in Tuco's place.
Exactly. Walt asks a question or makes a comment about the future arrangement, and No-Doz just chimes in. He says something like, just remember who you're working for.
Which, if you look at it from a normal corporate perspective.
Or even a standard gang perspective.
Yeah, it sounds like loyalty. He's backing up his boss. He's being a hype man.
Completely. He is trying to be helpful. He is actively trying to assert Tuco's dominance over these two new cooks. But Tuco does not hear loyalty.
He hears condescension.
He takes it as a direct insult. He sees it as No-Doz thinking that Tuco is stupid.
Like, oh, you think I can't speak for myself?
Exactly. You think I can't handle my own business. You think I need my subordinate to talk for me. You think I'm an idiot.
And that insecurity, fueled by the methamphetamine, it just triggers this violent explosion.
And when we say explosion, we mean it. It is brutal to watch.
Tuco just starts beating him.
Yeah.
And I want to emphasize, this isn't a typical TV or movie fight where someone gets punched a few times and walks away with a bloody lip.
No.
This is raw, vicious violence. He is repeatedly punching him, kicking him, slamming his head.
It is primal. And what really stands out to me in the scene is the direction, the way the camera cuts to Walt and Jesse.
And they are just frozen.
Pure terror. They are standing there, completely immobilized, just watching this happen. And you can almost see the wheels turning in their heads, or rather, the wheels completely stopping.
Yeah.
This is the exact moment the realization hits them. They are not dealing with a rational businessman.
Right.
They aren't dealing with a corporate partner or even a standard, predictable criminal. They are in bed with an unpredictable psychopath.
It totally shatters Walt's worldview, doesn't it? Because up until this exact point, Walt has been operating under this massive delusion that he can control this world.
The arrogance of Walter White.
Exactly. He thinks he can apply logic and chemistry and standard business rules to the illegal drug trade. He thinks, well, I have the best product, therefore I hold the leverage.
I am the smart one, so I set the terms. That's his whole philosophy in season 1.
And this scene proves that in the face of raw, unadulterated physical violence, intelligence does not matter. The periodic table doesn't help you when a guy is literally beating a man to death 3 feet away from you.
Chaos is the ruling principle in this world, not logic.
And then after Tuco drives off, we get this really interesting character beat for Walt. Tuco just leaves No-Doz there, twitching on the ground, bleeding out. And Walt actually tries to save him.
He does. He runs over and immediately starts performing chest compressions.
Which is such a specific, fascinating choice by the writers.
Mm-hmm.
He has just watched this man get savagely beaten to death by the guy he just did business with. And his first instinct is to try and heal him.
It reminds us that Walt isn't a killer by nature, at least not yet. He is fundamentally a problem solver. He's a teacher. He's a scientist.
Right.
He sees a body shutting down, a biological system failing, and he tries to fix the mechanics of it. He checks the airway. He pumps the chest.
He's trying to apply a scientific fix to a brutal reality.
But it's futile.
It is completely futile.
Yeah.
No-Doz dies right there in the dirt.
And that failure is deeply significant. It shows Walt that he can't just fix the consequences of his actions. He cooked the meth that got Tuco high enough to murder this guy. He is part of that chain of cause and effect. He can't just step in at the very end and act like a paramedic to absolve himself.
And that is the pebble that starts the avalanche for the whole season. Because now they have a body.
And this brings us to the other henchman, Gonzo.
Gonzo. The quiet one. The really big guy.
Tuco realizes No-Doz is dead or dying, and he gives an order to Gonzo. He tells him to hide the body, just get rid of it, put him under an old car.
Just treat him like trash, like scrap metal in the junkyard.
Exactly. But Gonzo hesitates, and he says something that seems so small at the time, but it is actually crucial for his character and for the entire plot of the episode.
He says he should receive a Christian burial.
A Christian burial.
We are in the middle of a drug deal gone wrong, surrounded by wrecked cars, after a brutal, senseless murder, and this hardened cartel enforcer is suddenly talking about religious rights.
It's a fascinating contradiction. It shows that even in this hyper-violent, lawless world, Gonzo has a code. He has a line he doesn't want to cross. Right. He complies with the order to hide the body in the moment because he is terrified of Tuco. But that desire to do right by his friend, to give him that proper burial, that is what stays in his head.
He's deeply disturbed by the lack of humanity Tuco is showing.
He is. And we really should put a pin in that because that Christian burial comment, It's not a throwaway line. That is the actual mechanic that drives the climax of the episode.
It absolutely does. It's the setup for the final twist. If Gonzo didn't care about his friend's soul, none of the bad stuff that follows would have happened to Walt and Jesse.
It's the law of unintended consequences perfectly illustrated. A random act of intended kindness leads directly to disaster.
So Walt and Jesse manage to get out of there. They are terrified. They part ways.
Yeah.
And this brings us to the actual title of the episode, 737.
Right. Now, on the surface, this title seems like a straightforward math problem.
A literal math problem.
Yeah.
Because there's that scene where Walt is sitting at his table outside. He's got his notepad and a calculator.
He is calculating the exact price of freedom. He is trying to figure out mathematically how much money he needs to leave for his family so that they are financially secure after he dies from his lung cancer.
Let's actually break down the math he does, because it's really revealing about his priorities and how his brain works.
He's incredibly thorough. He lists the mortgage. He notes he has about $170,000 left on the house.
Okay.
He lists the home equity line. He lists college tuition for Walter Jr. and for the unborn baby.
He estimates, what, $45,000 per kid for college?
Roughly, yeah. Which, honestly, even for the mid-2000s when this takes place, implies he's hoping for a state school or significant scholarships. But he puts down a number. Then he calculates the cost of living for the family, food, utilities, health insurance, for a period of exactly 10 years.
And he assumes a modest $2,000 a month for that, right, adjusted for inflation.
Yes, and then he sums it all up.
And he comes up with a very specific, finite figure, $737,000. $737,000.
What does that number tell us about Walt's headspace right now?
Well, I mean, it tells us he is bargaining.
Yeah.
With himself, mostly. He is trying to rationalize his criminality by putting a strict cap on it.
Yes.
He thinks, if I just get to this exact number, I can stop. I can get out.
Yeah.
I'm not a criminal. I'm just a guy trying to hit a quota.
He's treating meth cooking like a contract job.
Exactly. Like a consulting gig with a defined end date.
He believes he can treat it like a rigid project. I need X amount of money. I can make Y amount per cook. Therefore, I need to do Z number of cooks, and then I am done. It's just an equation to be solved.
Which goes right back to his delusion of control. He thinks he can just dip his toe into the cartel world, make his $737,000, and then just walk away clean. He genuinely thinks the drug world will just let him hand in his 2 weeks' notice.
It's the classic just one more score fallacy. But in Walt's mind, it's not driven by greed. It's actuarial science. He is solving an equation for his family's survival. He tells himself his actions are noble because they have a specific, mathematically justified limit.
But there is another layer to this title, isn't there? A much darker, completely hidden layer. Because the writers were doing something incredibly clever here.
Oh, yes. This is where the showrunners, Vince Gilligan and his writing team, were playing a very, very long game. 737 isn't just about Walt's money.
Tell us about the foreshadowing, because this involves those weird black and white flash forwards we start seeing in this season.
Right. If you remember, Season 2 is famous for these surreal cold opens. Before the opening credits even roll, we see these disjointed black and white images.
A snail crawling on a wall.
A swimming pool, debris scattered everywhere.
And that iconic pink teddy bear.
The pink teddy bear, it's burnt, it's missing an eye, and it's just floating in Walt's pool. And it's the only thing in color in those scenes, that bright, shocking pink against the monochrome background.
It is super creepy. It looks like a crime scene video or something from a horror movie.
It really does. And these flash forwards appear in 4 specific episodes spread throughout Season 2. And if you look at the titles of those 4 specific episodes, a hidden message appears.
So we have this premiere episode, 737.
Correct. Later in the season, there is an episode titled Down.
Okay.
Then an episode titled Over.
737 down over.
And the season finale is titled ABQ, short for Albuquerque.
737 down over ABQ.
Exactly. The titles themselves form a sentence predicting the massive climax of the season. The Wayfarer 515 disaster, which involves a Boeing 737 commercial airliner colliding in midair with a charter plane directly over Albuquerque.
That is just, the level of planning that takes is incredible. So right from the very first episode, they are explicitly telling the audience that a plane is going to crash.
Yeah.
And it's hidden right in plain sight.
It's brilliant structural writing, and it connects back to the literal meaning of the episode, too.
How so?
Well, Walt is working towards 737, the money, but his selfish actions are actually leading towards 737, the disaster. The money and the destruction are inextricably linked.
That is fascinating. It totally reframes the whole season when you think about it like that.
Yeah.
Walt thinks he is meticulously building a safety net for his family, but he's actually building a disaster that will rain debris down on his own house.
Perfectly put. He is calculating the exact price of his family's future, but he is completely failing to factor in the price the entire city will pay for his hubris.
Man. All right, let's move from the skies over Albuquerque back down to the ground, specifically inside the White House. Because Walt comes home from the junkyard, and he is not okay.
No, not at all. He is vibrating with adrenaline and absolute fear. He is in shock, really, and this leads to one of the most uncomfortable and deeply disturbing scenes in the early run of the show.
The scene in the kitchen with Skylar.
Yes, Walt comes in. Skylar finds him standing there in the kitchen, just staring at the TV or staring into space. He's clearly disassociated from reality.
And then he initiates sex. But it's not romantic.
No, it is aggressive, it's forceful.
It turns into a sexual assault. Skylar actively objects. She says no multiple times. She's confused and she is scared.
And she's wearing this thick green facial mask, a beauty product, which gives her this almost alien doll-like appearance in the lighting, which I think really emphasizes how Walt is seeing her in that moment. Not as his wife, not as a person, but as an object.
And Walt, for a long moment, he doesn't stop. He forces himself on her. He eventually stops when she really pushes back and gets free, but the damage is absolutely done.
It's a horrific moment to watch, and we have to analyze why the writers had this happen. It's the bleed-over effect, the power and the extreme violence he felt at the junkyard, that pure, unchecked dominance he saw Tuco exert over no-dos. And the sheer rush of his own survival, he brings that toxic energy directly into his marriage.
It's like he can't switch off the Heisenberg persona, even though he hasn't fully become Heisenberg yet. He felt so utterly powerless in front of Tuco, like a bug about to be squashed.
Exactly. He was helpless in front of Tuco, emasculated even, so he subconsciously tries to reclaim a sense of power over Skylar. It is a direct transfer of aggression.
He needs to feel like the dominant male again.
Yes. It's toxic, and it shows the audience that his moral decay isn't just about cooking illegal drugs. It is fundamentally changing who he is as a husband and as a man.
And Skylar sees it. She might not know about the crystal meth yet, but she knows something is fundamentally dangerously wrong with the man in her house.
She sees a total stranger in her kitchen. She sees a capacity for violence in him that she has never, ever seen before in their entire marriage.
Now, speaking of domestic trouble, let's look at the other side of the family, the Schraders. Hank and Marie are dealing with their own issues, which honestly seem almost trivial in comparison, but they are thematically linked.
They are. The show does this great thing of constantly contrasting the two couples. While Walt is dealing with life and death cartel violence, Hank and Marie are having this intense argument about therapy.
It feels so mundane in comparison, but it's dead serious for them.
It is. It's revealed that Marie is going to therapy for, quote, unspecified problems. But we, the audience, and Hank know it's connected to her kleptomania, her shoplifting.
Right. And Skylar is refusing to take any of Marie's calls. She's totally icing her sister out because of the tiara incident from last season.
Which puts Hank right in the middle. He's trying to play the peacekeeper. He visits Skylar to try and broker a truce. He asks her to just talk to Marie. He genuinely thinks it's just standard sisterly drama.
And this leads to that massive explosion from Skylar. She just snaps at Hank.
She screams at him. She says, "My situation is worse."
That line hits so hard, "my situation is worse."
It's a desperate cry for help, but she can't actually say why it's worse. She can't say, "My husband is acting like a monster and just assaulted me," so she just screams about the sheer unfairness of it all.
And there's this incredible moment of realization, right? Hank realizes that Skylar knows about Marie's shoplifting. And Skylar realizes that Hank knows about it too.
It's a shared burden, but it's based on a massive misunderstanding. They both think they are talking about Marie's shoplifting being the big, dark family secret.
Right.
But Skylar is holding on to a much bigger, much darker secret regarding Walt's changing behavior.
It creates this amazing dramatic irony for the viewer.
And it really isolates Skylar even more. She's trapped in this house with a man she's starting to deeply fear, and she can't even confide in her sister or her brother-in-law. And her brother-in-law is a DEA agent.
Which is the perfect segue to our next segment, the investigation. Because Hank literally has the evidence of Walt's crimes right under his nose at the DEA office.
He does. He and his partner, Stephen Gomez-Gomi, are sitting there watching security footage.
This is the footage from the methylamine heist in Season 1. where Walt and Jesse broke into that chemical supply warehouse.
Wearing those ridiculous ski masks, they look like giant bobbleheads.
Right. And Hank is sitting there watching the tape and just relentlessly criticizing their technique. He is actively profiling them.
And getting it completely, hilariously wrong.
Totally wrong. What does he actually say about them?
He disparages their skills. He calls them rank amateurs. He thinks they're complete idiots because they are rolling the heavy barrel of methylamine so clumsily across the yard. But, and here's the catch, he is intrigued by one highly specific detail.
The thermite.
The thermite. He notices that they used an advanced, extremely hot chemical reaction to melt the heavy lock on the door. That is not something a typical meth junkie knows how to do.
So Gomi throws out a theory. He says, maybe they're chemistry students? College kids.
It is so close. It is agonizingly close to the truth.
You just want to scream at the screen when you watch it.
Right. Gomi identifies the exact skill set, chemistry. He identifies the intelligence level, educated. But he gets the demographics slightly wrong. He assumes college kids because that fits his preconceived profile of who does this kind of weird, non-traditional stuff. Pranksters or smart kids looking for a thrill. He cannot possibly imagine it's a 50-year-old high school teacher and his burnout former student.
And he certainly cannot imagine it's his own brother-in-law.
That blind spot, that is Hank's fatal flaw throughout the entire series. He respects Walt too much, or perhaps he respects him too little in terms of masculinity to ever suspect him.
Yeah.
He sees Walt as this gentle, nerdy, overqualified teacher who is kind of a pushover in life, not a criminal mastermind.
It's a complete failure of imagination. Hank can imagine a bad guy. He knows what a cartel hitman looks like. He cannot imagine Walter White being a bad guy.
Exactly. And Hank makes a really dark prediction here, doesn't he? He says something about how the established drug cartels are going to handle these new guys.
He says the cartels will hurt them for disrupting the trade. He basically predicts exactly what is happening with Tuco at that exact moment.
He knows the ecosystem better than Walt does. He knows that amateurs get eaten alive by the predators. He just doesn't know the amateur is sitting at his Sunday dinner table.
So while Hank is watching tapes and making jokes, Walt is at home watching the street. The paranoia has fully set in.
Big time. Walt sees an SUV parked near his house, just a random black SUV. It's probably a neighbor or a lost delivery driver.
But in his mind,
it's Tuco. It's the cartel coming to finish the job.
he spends the entire night just watching the window. And this all-consuming fear drives Walt and Jesse to meet up and look for a solution. They realize they can't just sit around and wait to be murdered. But they have very, very different ideas on how to solve the Tuco problem.
This is the classic guns versus chemistry debate that defines so much of their partnership moving forward.
Let's start with Jesse. What is his grand plan?
Jesse's plan is incredibly direct. It's street level. It's violence. He wants to buy a gun and shoot Tuco before Tuco shoots them. It's a preemptive strike.
So he goes to a hot dog restaurant.
Yes, the tall fry stand, the absolute glamour of the Albuquerque underworld. He meets an illegal arms dealer right there at a picnic table.
And he buys a Ruger SP-101.
A snub-nosed revolver. It's reliable. It's simple to use. Jesse tells Walt they need to take care of Tuco. He even tries to convince Walt to get a gun, too. He says double our chances.
Which, if you think about it logically, sounds okay. 2 guns are better than 1. But in reality,
Walt knows that in a straight-up shootout with a hardened, meth-addled gangster like Tuco, a guy who probably has automatic weapons and years of combat experience, they lose. 100% of the time.
right.
They are not gunmen. They are a mild-mannered teacher and a high school dropout.
So Walt rejects the gun idea entirely. He falls back on what he knows best, science.
He proposes a clandestine kill, a silent kill. Poison. Ricin. This is the very first introduction of ricin to the Breaking Bad universe. It becomes such a massive plot device in later seasons, but its origin is right here in episode 1 of season 2.
Explain the plan. How does he pitch this to Jesse?
Walt explains that they can process castor beans to extract a lethal toxin. It's highly effective. A tiny amount, literally the size of a grain of salt, can kill a grown man. And it mimics natural illness, so it doesn't look like a murder right away.
Why does he choose this method over the gun? I mean, aside from the obvious skill issue with firearms.
It's about the psychological nature of the crime. Shooting someone is messy, it's loud, it's public, and it requires you to physically look a man in the eye and pull a trigger. It's visceral.
Poisoning someone feels more detached.
It feels medical, almost. It allows Walt to maintain that crucial psychological distance from the violence.
Wow.
He can tell himself, I'm not a murderer, I'm just introducing a chemical agent into an environment. It feeds Walt's massive ego, too. He's going to outsmart the brute. He isn't going to outfight Tuco, he's going to outthink him.
It's the ultimate brain over brawn fantasy. So the plan is set. They make the ricin. They are going to trick Tuco into taking it during the next meth delivery. It seems like a pretty solid plan.
It does. For a brief moment, they feel like they have regained some agency. They have a strategy to survive.
Until the phone rings.
The phone call that changes absolutely everything.
Walt and Jesse are finishing up the ricin prep. Walt gets a call from Hank. Now, at first, Walt is probably terrified Hank is calling to arrest him.
That's always his baseline fear. Every time the phone rings, he thinks it's the end. But Hank is just calling to apologize. He says he screwed up with Skylar. He feels bad about pushing her during that argument.
Then he casually mentions he's at a crime scene.
Yes, he's at the junkyard.
And he drops a massive bombshell.
He tells Walt that Gonzo is dead.
Gonzo, the big guy who wanted the Christian burial for no does.
The very same. Now, this is where the flow of information creates absolute chaos. Hank explains, or rather, the audience learns through the visual of the scene, how Gonzo actually died.
It wasn't Tuco who killed him.
No, it was a complete accident, a freak accident. Gonzo secretly went back to the junkyard in the middle of the night to move No-Doze's body. Remember, he wanted to give him a proper burial because of his religious beliefs.
Right.
In the process of moving the heavy body, presumably to hide it better or transport it, the giant stack of Kreft cars shifted. Gonzo got his arm pinned between the vehicles. He couldn't get out. He was crushed, and he bled out.
So his loyalty, his desire to just do the right thing by his friend, literally got him killed.
It is a tragic, bitter irony. If he had just left the body exactly where it was as Tuco ordered, if he had just been a cold, obedient, heartless soldier, he would be completely fine.
But Walt and Jesse, they don't know any of those details. They just hear from Hank, Gonzo is dead at the junkyard.
Exactly. Their extremely paranoid brains instantly fill in the blanks. They assume Tuco killed Gonzo.
They think Tuco is cleaning house.
They think, okay, he beat No-Doze to death. Now he murdered Gonzo to cover his tracks. We are the only other witnesses. We are next. That is the only logical conclusion if you don't know it was an industrial accident.
So the careful, scientific plan to poison Tuco quietly just goes completely out the window. Now it is sheer panic mode.
Total, unadulterated panic. Walt tells Jesse to leave town immediately. Get out. Go. Disappear.
And Walt, what does he do?
He goes home. He's frantically trying to figure out his next move. He's avoiding Skylar's questions. He is essentially trapped in his own house, pacing like a caged animal.
And then another phone call, or rather, a presence outside.
He goes outside to look. And there he is, sitting in his car, right in Walt's suburban driveway.
And he's not alone in the car.
He has Jesse in the passenger seat, held at gunpoint.
This is the cliffhanger, the ultimate oh-no moment of the episode.
Tuco points the gun and forces Walt into the car. Get in! And just like that, they are kidnapped.
And they are driven off into the unknown. Roll credits.
It's a terrifying ending because all of their planning, the gun Jesse bought, the ricin Walt made, the careful math of the $737,000, all of it meant absolutely nothing. Tuco just came right to their front door.
And the incredible irony of this whole ending is Tuco didn't come there to kill them, did he?
No. We find this out in the next episode, but in this moment, the implication is that Tuco is terrified too. He thinks the DEA is closing in on him because his guys keep turning up dead. He thinks his entire operation is compromised. He desperately needs his cooks to flee to Mexico with him. He's not cleaning house. He's violently securing his assets.
So literally everyone in this scenario is acting out of extreme fear based on incomplete information. Tuco thinks the cops are coming. Walt thinks Tuco is killing everyone.
Which is the defining theme of the episode. Fear drives bad decisions. If anyone had the full, accurate picture, this kidnapping would never have happened.
Man, what a ride. And to think, this is just the first episode of the season.
It sets the bar incredibly high for what's to come.
Let's take a quick step back and talk about the production of this episode.
Yeah.
Because there was a very interesting credit on this one that people might miss.
Directed by Bryan Cranston.
The man himself. Walter White directed this episode.
It's remarkably impressive. It's hard enough to act the lead role in a show like this, carrying that immense emotional weight in every scene, but to direct it as well. To manage the pacing, the complex visual setups in the junkyard, the performances of the other actors.
And think about the specific scenes he had to direct here. The assault on Skylar. He had to be in that scene, acting out that monstrous aggressive behavior, and then immediately yell, cut, and give technical notes to Anna Gunn, or check the camera lighting. That takes a level of professional compartmentalization that is kind of scary in itself.
It really does, but he crushed it, and the critics widely agreed. Donna Bowman from the AV Club gave it an A-. She specifically praised Cranston's dual role, highlighting his acting and his directing.
And Seth Amerton from IGN gave it an 8.7 out of 10. High praise.
Very, very high praise for a premiere. The critical reception at the time was strong.
But it's interesting, when you look at retrospective rankings of all Breaking Bad episodes today, 737 usually lands somewhere right in the middle.
Right. The Ringer ranked it 39th out of 62 total episodes. Vulture put it at 32nd.
Why do you think that is? If it's so tightly written and well acted, why isn't it considered top 10?
I think because it is fundamentally a bridge episode. It's a setup. It doesn't have the massive explosive release of a season finale or the sheer novelty of the pilot episode. Its specific job is to intricately move the pieces on the chessboard to set up the grilled episode that immediately follows it.
It does all the heavy lifting so the next episode can just run with the action.
Exactly. It's the first act of a two-part movie, really. 737 and Grilled are almost one continuous long story. But without the psychological tension built here, the money calculation, the failed CPR in the dirt, the sleepless paranoia, the climax of the next episode wouldn't matter at all.
True. You need to intimately feel the screws tightening before they finally snap.
And this episode is just 47 minutes of tightening screws.
Before we wrap up, I want to circle back to the mission we talked about at the very start of the deep dive, the 737 concept, and this overarching idea of unintended consequences.
Central thesis.
Yes. Walt genuinely thinks he can control the outcome of his choices. He thinks 737,000 is the magic number that will solve his life. But the universe or the inherent chaos of the illegal drug trade always has other plans.
It's the central tragedy of Walter White's character arc. He is an absolute genius at chemistry. He perfectly understands how to manipulate variables in a sterile lab. But he is entirely failing at accounting for the messy variables of human nature. He didn't calculate Tuco's drug-induced rage. He didn't calculate Gonzo's religious sense of duty. He didn't even calculate his own wife's sharp intuition.
And because he arrogantly ignored all those human variables, the equation didn't balance. Instead of buying his freedom, he bought himself a one-way ticket in the trunk of Tuco's car.
And that number, 737,000, it essentially becomes a tombstone. It's not the wealth he takes with him. It's what destroys the city, symbolically, via the plane crash foreshadowed in the episode titles.
Which leaves us with a really big what-if for the listeners.
The provocative thought.
What if Gonzo hadn't died?
It's a fascinating thread to pull on.
Right. If Gonzo had just ignored his conscience, left Nodo's body alone, and gone home, he wouldn't have been found dead at the junkyard the next day. Hank wouldn't have called Walt with the news from the crime scene.
Walt and Jesse wouldn't have completely panicked. They wouldn't have mistakenly assumed Tuco was systematically cleaning house.
They would have calmly proceeded with the ricin plan.
They might have actually tried to poison Tuco at the next scheduled meet. Would it have worked? Maybe. Or maybe Tuco would have been suspicious and killed them on the spot.
Or maybe Tuco still would have kidnapped them anyway, because he was growing increasingly paranoid about the police finding Nodo's body eventually.
It's entirely possible. But the immediate urgency, the sudden, get in the car right now, violence was triggered, specifically because Tuco thought his loyal crew was being wiped out by an unknown enemy or the cops. Gonzo's accidental death is the massive hinge point of history here.
One guy, just trying to be a good Christian in a dusty junkyard, completely changes the fate of everyone in Albuquerque.
That is the butterfly effect of Breaking Bad. Or, as we should call it, the dead henchman effect.
The dead henchman effect. I like that.
It's catchy.
Well, on that note, 737. An absolute masterclass in tension, long-term foreshadowing, and the sheer futility of trying to mathematically control chaos.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. This was a heavy one to get through, but man, was it worth unpacking.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you on the next one. Take care.